This is 8.3 Administer Fitness Test. I asked my client some questions on the sport that he plays, and here are the answers. The first test I was testing my client on was a yo-yo test, and this is for the aerobic capacity. In this test you have to set out cones exactly 20 meters apart. The participant starts behind one of the lines and starts running to the other cones and back when instructed. They have to get to the other side and back in a certain time, and each time the time given is slower, and they have 10 seconds to recover between each sprint. The second test was the sit and reach test for flexibility. The participant sits down with their legs fully straightened against the sit and reach box. They then have to keep their legs straight, and they then have to reach for the top of the board as far as they can, and then do this for 3 times, and all 3 times get recorded. The third test was the hand grip dynamometer for their strength. The participant starts by holding the hand grip with their arm fully straightened, pointing to the sky. They then must keep their arm straightened while tightening the grip on the handle and move their arm to the side, making a semicircle movement. They then have to do this 3 times with all times being recorded. The fourth test was the 30-meter dash for speed. In this you have to mark out 2 cones 30 meters apart from each other, and the participant starts behind one of the cones. Then when they are instructing, the participant has to run from one cone to the other as quickly as possible, while the instructor is at the cone being ran to record their time. This is completed 3 times and all times are recorded. The fifth test is the lane agility drill for agility. In this you have to mark out 6 cones, 3 either side, 19 feet apart from each other, and each side being 16 feet long. Then the participant would start beyond the start mark, and then run round all of the cones, and then back to the same way they came from. The instructor would instruct when to start and time the test. The participant must go around all the cones and not cut inside. The last test was the vertical jump test for power. The participant will stand on the mat and strap the strap around their waist, with the tape measure being attached to the mat and the strap. The participant then must jump as high as possible 3 times, and the instructor will record each time's results. I then got my client to sign this informed consent, where it basically told him that he was allowed to withdraw whenever he wanted to, and that he would always obey the instructors and follow what they told him to do, and doing the tests safely, and knew exactly what he was doing before every test for his safety. Reasons for the participants to defer or terminate the testing. One reason would be if the participant got ill. This would be bad, as they wouldn't be able to participate in, and even if they tried to, they wouldn't be able to participate to their full potential, and the results wouldn't be reliable. Another reason for this is if the participant does not feel comfortable with it. This is a fair enough reason, as the participant should not feel uncomfortable with anything and should be allowed to defer because of this. Another reason is because if the participant gets injured. If this happened, the participant would not be able to continue with any of the activities, as they are all exercise, and being injured will prevent them from being able to participate with this. My penultimate reason is if it is unsafe to perform. At the end of the day, my participants' safety is the most important thing, and I don't want my participant to get injured or be in a risk of getting injured by performing these tests. My last reason is if the equipment breaks, but my participant won't be able to participate with this anymore, as the equipment that is needed is broken, so then we won't be able to do the tests. Because of this, we then did a risk assessment for my participant. Here is my results from my risk assessment. Here is my evaluation for my client's yo-yo test scores. My client scored a score of 15.8. This score put him in the average section in a normative data. This is good because he isn't in a bad level, so then we don't have as much improvement to do. but it is bad because he should be at a higher standard than average due to the standard that he's having to play in basketball and his aerobic capacity being so important in this. So therefore we will have to get him training to improve this. To improve this, I'll get my client to do some fartlek training, as this improves different speeds and has breaks in between, which is what happens in basketball, as at one moment my client might be running back for the ball, and one moment my client might be paused because the ball has gone out of play, or he might be jogging back in position after an attack. So fartlek training would be the best thing for this, as it is relevant to the sport and it also improves his aerobic capacity and also muscular strength, which is also important for his sport. Here is my evaluation for the sit and reach test results. 2 out of the 3 results from my client were below average, with the other being average. This is bad, as the majority of his scores were below average, so therefore we will have to improve this massively. On the other hand, his last test wasn't, and was in the average section, and as we see, he went all the way up from 21 to 29, so we may find that his first result wasn't reliable, as it was his first time trying it, as we did not do any test runs, which should have happened. So therefore, this might be the reason why one of his results is so low compared to the other ones. But we still need to improve his flexibility, as he's only just in average with one of his results. My way that I'm going to get my client to improve his flexibility is for him to do 10 minutes before he goes to bed and when he wakes up of just stretching. This will make an impact, as it will make his body more used to stretching, and it won't happen quickly, but over a long period of time, eventually his flexibility would have improved. This is my evaluation on the hand grip dynamometer. As we can see from his results, one of his results was an excellent and the other 2 were very good. This is good, as he was way above average for all of his results, and one of his was even an excellent. So all we really need to improve on is the consistency of his muscles. So for this, it will be the muscle stamina probably, as the first result was a lot higher than the other 2. To do this, we'll have to do weight training with not as many pauses in between, so then the stamina in his muscles increases. This will have to be done at a gym, or he can even get some weights just at home that he just does every now and then, and we will do a plan for him to do at the gym if he starts there. So he's improving the strength in all of his body and not just certain parts of his body, as this will be unhealthy if he did that. This is the evaluation for the 30-metre sprint. From his results, we can see that his score was poor in the normative data. This is bad, as his score couldn't have been in a worse place. However, though, the results for the normative data are done by just running, and my client, when he did this test, was running with a basketball to make it relevant to his sport, so therefore he was at a bit of a disadvantage. However, this wouldn't put him at a huge disadvantage, and his results still are very poor for what I expect from him at the level that he is playing at. To improve my client's strength in sprinting, I'll get him doing around the same as 30-metre sprints, but with pauses in between, so he is able to regenerate his power. But I'll make sure the pauses aren't too long, as in game for basketball his pauses won't be that long. For this, I'll make him do this twice a week after a training session. I will just mark out 30 metres and make him sprint across 2 times without a ball and then 2 times with the ball, with about 30-second break in between each of them. This is the evaluation of the lane agility drill. From this, 2 of his results were very good and 1 being in outstanding. This is very good, as his levels of agility are at a very high level, which is very much needed in basketball. One thing that we just need to work on is his consistency, so all of his levels can be at the same high standard of being at outstanding. I think this is more down to his fitness levels than his actual agility levels, so we would improve his fitness instead of his agility. By doing this, we would get him in the gym, going onto treadmills. I would get him to go on a 20-minute run, and then for the last 5 minutes I would get the intensity to increase even harder. And then do this twice every week, and then every 2 weeks we would up the intensity on the running each time, so that he wasn't just doing the same thing each week, and it was pushing him harder every 2 weeks. The last test that we evaluated was the standing vertical jump test. From his results, we saw that one of his results was in very good, and the other two were in above average. This is very good, as his results were a very high standard and were in very good, and he needs this for his basketball, for when he's shooting with his jumping, and then also dunking. He will need to be able to jump. To get his standing vertical jump up to the excellent stages, we would get him in the gym twice a week, doing standing calf raises, where he would be stood on the floor with weights in either hand, and then would just go up to his tippy toes and then back down, and do this 10 times, but do it 10 times 3 times, so 10 reps of 3 sets, and do this twice a week. Here is my test justifications for the 6 tests. First test being the yo-yo test. The yo-yo test is relevant to a basketball player, as it involves quick anaerobic sprints with breaks in between, which is what happens in a basketball game for basketball players, as they will always be constantly on the move, and this happens in the yo-yo test, but there are also breaks in basketball games, which also happens in the yo-yo test. The second test being the sit and reach. This test shows us my client's flexibility in their hamstrings and hip flexors. This is relevant to my client, as he is a shooting guard in basketball, and that involves stretching for the ball to intercept or tackle. It is also important for an athlete to have good flexibility to prevent injury. The third test being the hand grip dynamometer. This test tested the strength in my client's arms, and this is important to them, as they will need to shoot from range in basketball when being a shooting guard, and they'll need to be able to generate enough power to shoot to get it into the rim from distance. The third test being the 30-meter sprint. This test is relevant to my client, as it is a short sprint that is the size of a basketball pitch. With my client being a basketball player, this is very relevant to him and will help him in defense and attack. The penultimate test being the lane agility drill. This test is about agility, and this is relevant, as when dribbling with the ball, my client will need to do his best to beat his man and to get past him to score, and then will require good agility to succeed in this. The final test is the vertical jump test. This is relevant to my client, as he is a shooting guard in basketball, and this will involve both jumping to shoot and jumping to score a dunk. So having good explosive power in his legs is important, so that he can jump as high as possible to put him at the best advantage for this. Here is my client's results from all the tests. And here are photos of me and my client doing all 6 of the tests.